What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video. In today's video we have this, the RS3 Pro, and obviously I've taken the gimbal out and shot with it, but I thought it was kind of cool that DJI featured the C70 on the front and back of the packaging to kind of market the RS3 Pro. And I do say it kind of ironically, because if you're used to this channel, you know that this camera right here, the Canon C70, is a favorite of mine and a camera that I have shot a ton with in the past. I've shot pretty much the entire 2021 NFL season with the RS2 and the Canon C70. And so now we have the RS3 Pro, and this is going to be the combo that I shoot the 2022 NFL season with. So super excited for this gimbal, super excited for this camera. But like I said, I did shoot 2021 on the RS2. So we have here the RS2, and I thought what better time and place to do a little comparison. So let's lock this guy. The auto lock feature on the RS3 Pro is already something that I've come to love, and just the amount of times that I've done this and you're constantly locking, unlocking, balancing. No more. The RS3 Pro with the auto lock, awesome feature. Glad DJI has kind of added that. So let's look at the two gimbals, the RS2 here on my right and the RS3 here with the C70 on it. The RS3 is slightly taller, and if you look at the back, the arms are slightly longer. And the RS3 is kind of a little bigger in every direction. So the side arm, the back arm, and this bottom arm are all slightly longer, and that is great for cameras like the C70. So if you're shooting with like an RS6 or an A7S3, there's plenty of wiggle room on these arms for balancing. But with heavier cameras like the C70, this camera with this lens is a 5 pounds, 14 ounces. So just shy of 6 pounds. And on the RS2, to balance the camera, you have to put the camera up against this arm, and then you pretty much are maxed out on both of these bottom axis and this back axis to balance the camera. So there's really not a ton of wiggle room when balancing the camera. And if you are used to shooting with the C70, they put the cards up front in the grip here. And so if you see here, this is the RS3 Pro, completely balanced, and you still have space here to get in, to get the cards out. Whether or not that was a smart move by Canon to put the cards here, that's another complaint for another day. But on the RS3 Pro, you can access the C70's cards, swap them out without having to slide the camera off the gimbal and then slide it back on. So that is handy. And then also on the back axis and the bottom axis, we're not maxed out here. So I still have some play in both directions, so you could easily balance a heavier camera or a bigger lens or something like that. And then just the feel. The RS3 Pro feels like it deals with the weight much nicer than the RS2. So the RS2, these both have 10-pound capacities rated from DJI, and they both have 12-hour battery grips. So overall, they should be the same gimbal. On paper, they are the same gimbal, but in practice, the RS3 Pro feels smoother. It deals with the heavier payload like the C70 a little nicer. You don't feel the weight of the camera as much. The motors are definitely smoother. DJI is claiming a 20% increase in smoothness on the RS3 Pro compared to the RS2. I guess they said they kind of tweaked the algorithm, and you can feel that. So in the limited shooting I've done with the RS3 Pro, it feels noticeably smoother than the RS2. The RS2 always felt like it was struggling a little bit with the C70. And again, this is about a 6-pound payload on a 10-pound rated gimbal. So the RS3 Pro feels like it is a true 10-pound capacity. The RS2 always felt like it was more like a 6 or 7 pound capacity kind of gimbal. Moving to the back, you get a bigger screen on the RS3 Pro. You also have the ability now, so if you do use stuff like the Raven Eye, so this is the Raven Eye off of the RS2 Pro, and I am happy to report that the Raven Eye off the RS2 is the exact same Raven Eye that they use for the RS3 Pro, so you can take this off your RS2 and plug it into the RS3 and it will work. They've also integrated the active track into the handle now, so if you do set up your Raven Eye, you can get a video feed to this little monitor, and then you can use your finger to select for active track, and then the gimbal tracks, in my opinion, very well. It is very similar to their drone tracking. It's something that the RS2 did have, but you would have to set up the Raven Eye, connect your phone to the Raven Eye, and then use your phone as your device that's for active track. And because of that, I never really used active track on the RS2, but having it built in to the actual screen on the RS3 means that I'll probably use it more often, and it's just a nice feature to have. Another feature that they did add is Bluetooth. So instead of having to kind of run a cable from your camera into your gimbal, you can now wirelessly connect via Bluetooth from your camera to the gimbal, and then you have your little start stop down here on the back. And so that is just another handy thing to have. Less wires is always better. And then last but not least is on the base package, they did include this arm. So this is for kind of briefcase mode or underslung mode. So this just has a NATO rail and connects right here to the side. And if we unlock the gimbal, now you have a nice little handle. This is my preferred method to control a gimbal, is one hand back here and the other one down here. A lot of people, you know, do the hand over hand, which I have done, but having a handle back here, it, in my opinion, just feels a little nicer. It's a little easier on the body, and I feel like you have more control over the pan feature of the gimbal. So that is a quick overview of the RS3 Pro, but as you guys know, numbers and specs only tell you half the story. So let's take the C70 RS3 Pro here, go out in the field and shoot some footage. Now that is a feature that I don't see getting old, but that is it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys took something from it. If you do have a camera like the C70 or a FX6 or something that's a little heavier like the Red Komodo, the RS3 does deal with these higher payload cameras a lot better than the older Ronins, and for that, I can't recommend this gimbal enough. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I will see you in another one.